Got plenty of games going on. College basketball tonight, 55, in fact, with some crazy big matchups here, especially out west, as we'll have Utah, Arizona State. And I know a lot of folks going to be looking forward to seeing if Gonzaga can put it back together here, as it's been a rough go of it for Mark Few and company. So we're going to break down a few of these games, come up with three best bets for you tonight, and we're going to do it with three of the best at WagerTalk as we welcome back in, once again in a separate location, Bryan Power in the house, I see. Adam Trigger back in it as his double R, 1L. Steve Merill in the house. Gentlemen, happy Thursday here. 55 college hoops games on tap here tonight. We're going to start with Arizona State. Has not been great here, BP. Taking on Utah has been going very well for them. So I guess something's got to give, though. Utah laying 6.5 on the road here. Oh, Hurley and company. Not good at Arizona State unless you think they can stay within this number tonight.
Yeah, Joe, first off, I just always want to keep you guessing where I'm going to be recording from now. That's the new trick I'm going to be pulling. You never know. All right, Arizona State. I wanted to talk about this game for a variety of reasons. One of which is the Sun Devils are 2-0 straight up to open Pac-12 play. Okay, congratulations. Tip your cap to them. Well, Joe, this is fascinating to me. They led those games, which were against Cal and Stanford for the record, by a total of 2 minutes. So not convincing wins at all. Pretty lucky to be 2-0 in conference play, I'd say. Meanwhile, Utah, as you alluded to, Joe, I would agree with you. Impressive, borderline top 25 team in the country for me. For the record, you can find them in the others receiving votes category, both the AP and coaches polls this week. Ken Pom, slightly rosier look. They've got the Utes at 25th. And they're top 50 in both adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency. Only 27 teams in the country that could say that, Joe. And the Utes' only 2 losses this year were to Houston, which we know is obviously one of the very top teams in the country, and St. John's. Both those losses were in Charleston, South Carolina. Since those 2 losses, Utah's rattled off 8 wins in a row, and one of them was against the BYU team I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I can't wait to see what the Cougars do their first year in the Big 12. That's BYU's only loss. Ken Pom has BYU ranked number 4 in the country. Oh, by the way. So that's a really impressive win for the Utes. Now, last time out, Utah did have to rally back from a 15-point deficit at home to beat Washington. That's a bit of a concern. But let's go back to what I said at the open, Joe. Arizona State's last 2 games, they have somehow gone 2-0 despite being ahead for just 2 of the 80 minutes. Laying 6.5 is not something I've really known to do. It's not on my card, but it's favorite or pass for me in this Pac-12 matchup tonight. I think the key here is Arizona State just doesn't shoot the 3 well, 29.6% on the year. Utah's up at 38.9%. So the Utes, no doubt in my mind, they win. I think you'll have to sweat if you want to lay the points, but it is favorite or pass tonight for me.
All right, favorite or pass, lining it up there out in the Pac-12. Still feels good to say Pac-12, what's left of it anyway there. All right, let's go. Adam Trigger, fresh off a little roadie here. Road trip here. You got to see a couple of Mountain West teams go at it there. I think 2 for 1 there the other day. We missed you here. Air Force, Utah State, and then, of course, Colorado State and New Mexico for a nightcap for you. So it sounds like it was a great time and hopefully a profitable time for you. So you're going to follow that up with breaking down a Howard, is it Delaware game for us? Is that how you're going to roll it
up? So first, just two things real quick, because I'm going to lead into my game here. But it wasn't profitable because I was on Air Force. Although I did bet Colorado State money line to get that back. But my client play was Air Force, which unfortunately lost. But I know we're going to make that back down the road. On some things I picked up when I was out there. Second thing has nothing to do with this. I just want to shout out Bryan Power, because a month ago, him and I were hanging out in Boston, and he said, I've got BYU as a top 5 team. They're like top 10 in Ken Pom. And I was like, listen, man, I agree with you. There's no way they're going to stay there. And sure enough, BYU, they're like a month later, here we are. They're still number 4 or whatever they are in Ken Pom. So I too, like BP, am very excited to see what BYU does now that we're getting into Big 12 play. But as far as my big game breakdown is concerned, I'm going to talk about Texas State, Coastal Carolina, but I want to make it clear that this is more just a breakdown of Texas State and what I think they could do going forward and how I think you can be profitable with them going forward than it really is a play on this game. The reason I say that is this: like, we know Coastal Carolina is bad. You don't need me to tell you how bad this team is right
Hmm.
now. Their coach Cliff Ellis leaves 8 games into the season, calls it a career. He was there for 17 years. Believe he just officially stepped down, and they're 3-9. They've lost 4 in a row. So it does going to do you no good for me to sit here and ramble on about Coastal Carolina or them being a bad team, which is why it's why it makes it a little bit difficult to play Texas State in this spot, only because I think you're kind of being forced to lay a premium based on how bad Coastal Carolina is. That being said, I think this is the time, or at least in the very near future, is going to be the time to jump in with Texas State, because the Bobcats are starting to get a little bit healthier than they were earlier in the season. And it's a little bit deceiving that Texas State just lost despite getting a couple guys back, because they ran into James Madison, the machine. That team is awesome.
Mhm.
They're going to be the team, I think, that like bucks a lot of the when are they going to finally lose? When are they going to finally lose? I know they play tonight, and I wouldn't be betting against them tonight either. But the point here, we're talking about Texas State, and we're talking about guys like Colton Benson, who didn't play the first 2 months of the year. He's the transfer from Army, great shooter. I was really impressed. I got to see him play when they came to play Siena last year, and he just shot the lights out. First 2 games he kind of came off the bench, but in that James Madison game, he dropped 19 points, 4 threes, and he's so important to them because he finally gives Texas State someone that can stretch the opposing team's defense a little bit. No one else on that team can shoot from distance. Now you've got Benson, a guy that's gonna really be able to, stretch it out, shoot some threes, hit some threes, and Texas State might be able to get a little bit more going to the basket now because of that. The other guy that's now been back for a little longer is Jordan Mason. If you go back to my preview prior to the season on Texas State, I thought Mason was one of the guys that could really, elevate Texas State to be better than where they were getting priced. He missed a whole bunch of time, but he's back now, and he's really emerged as the go-to player. This is a team that had Mason Harrell for all those years. He graduates, and they really lacked a go-to guy for the first 2 months of the season, especially with the fact that it looks like Drew Drinnen is probably done for the year. He still hasn't played. It's tough to get a ton of info on this Texas State team, but I'm guessing he's probably out for the season, or maybe we'll see him down the line. So you now have this Texas State team coming off of getting buried by James Madison, which is not. It's more just because James Madison is really good, and you've got them getting 2 players back that I really think changes the makeup of the team. And that's where the value is going to be with Texas State going forward. You can look at their first 2 months and pretty much push it off to the side, because this is a different team with Mason and Benson on the floor. And not only is it a different team, it gives them the option to play the way that Texas State has played through Terrence Johnson's entire tenure, which is very slow. Almost there, for the 3 years, Texas State's been dead bottom of the country in adjusted tempo and KenPom. And this year they've been forced to play a little bit faster just because they couldn't run any half court offense. No Mason Harrell because he graduated. No one else that could score. No one that could shoot threes. They couldn't run any half court offense, and they had to just go faster just to try to generate some offense. Now they don't have to do that, and now they can play Chris Nix at the 5 because they get scoring from other places. So Chris Nix is a big man that transferred in from Tennessee Martin. He's probably their best defensive player. He's one of their best rebounders, but they've struggled to keep him on the floor because he just doesn't score. He doesn't shoot that much, and they needed to get scoring from somewhere. Against James Madison, again, the result wasn't great for Texas State, but he played 25 minutes, and with him on the floor, it's going to make their defense a lot better. So Texas State, if I was going to bet this game, I would absolutely lay the points. I don't think it's a bad bet at all. I do think you're paying a little bit of a premium here just because Coastal Carolina is been playing poorly of late. You're going to have to cover a number, but I like Texas State here. I do think they win the game. and they are a team I'll be looking to bet on going forward. So Texas State -8, 8.5 is a lean, but keep an eye on this team in the coming months.
All right, late Texas State here tonight. We have another interesting game coming up tonight with Wichita State in action, taking on North Texas, and double R1L Steve Merill ready to roll in this one. I think last I saw, Steve, was a pick'em or close to a pick'em in this one, or though North Texas is much like watching paint dry. What are we going to get in this game here tonight? I would imagine the total's pretty low too.
I've already cashed, Joe. I had a heavy wager that you would say paint dry when you referred to North Texas, so I've already cashed the bet before the show here. Love it. It is like watching paint dry, and you know why? Because they're one of the slowest teams once again this year. What are they? 362, 363, I lose count, in Division I basketball. But North Texas is right now 360th in tempo. That's how slow they play, and it works for them. They're having a pretty good season. What's crazy is you look at that luck index on KenPom. They're also number 360 in the luck index. So they've been the third most unlucky team in college basketball this year. But keep in mind, that's only about straight up one-loss records, although you could make an argument that it applies now because, like you said, this point spread's around that pick-em 1-point range. However, I'll make an argument that maybe Wichita has been one of the more unlucky teams, and this isn't even factored into the luck ratings because they're like in the middle of the pack if you look at the KenPom one. But how about this? Wichita State's faced teams that on average should shoot about 70.5% from the free throw line, and that's around the national average, about 71%. Their opponents this year have shot nearly 75% from the charity stripe. Now, I don't care how you cut it. If you play teams and they're 13 games in that average below 71%, and they've shot almost 75%, that's just a statistical outlier, which means Wichita State's probably a little bit better than the margins of victory, the margins of defeat have shown. And I think there's some upside with Wichita. But what jumped out to me about this game, and one of the reasons I wanted to use it here is the big game breakdown. I know it's not a real sexy matchup, but it's a great one to talk about just basic handicapping principles. I talked about this yesterday on both the college basketball show here and also on Wager Talk today with Teddy and Prez, that I love to use tempo and pace when handicapping college hoops. And I always make my short list on these big cards by looking for mismatches where you have a fast, slow team playing the other type of team. And we get that tonight. North Texas very slow. Wichita prefers up-tempo, faster pace. But this is one of those rare examples where I think we're going to go with the faster paced team. And there's a couple reasons why. First of all, pace of play. You can dictate tempo better when you're the home team in basketball, college and pro. And by the way, somebody mentioned in the chats yesterday after the Wager Talk Today show about the Pacers that they've gone under on the road several times. That makes sense. Indiana can run more, dictate the faster tempo at home. Well, teams like North Texas are more beneficial at home as well because they can slow things down on their home court, familiar settings. And teams like North Texas normally have to slow things down because they don't shoot the ball well. And although they have a decent three-point shooting percentage this year, they're still only about 43.5% overall field goal, which tells me they do not shoot well down low. They do not score well in transition. That's why they have to play ugly half-court basketball. So I think Wichita, with the crowd at home, will speed this game up. And if you look at North Texas, some of the games they've had trouble in this year, and by the way, this is only their second true road game of the season. That's another reason why I think being on the road is going to hurt them here. Their only other true road game was at Boise State back in early December a month ago, and they lost that one by 5. But they also lost a couple neutral court games since then in mid-December against Fordham and Mississippi State. And both Fordham and Mississippi State play in the upper half of tempo, right around where Wichita State plays. So I think this is a very similar matchup. And I like the fact that the Shockers are off of several losses. They've lost 4 of their last 5 straight up and 5 in a row against the spread, which means we're getting some line value now. This line should be more than just a pick 'em or -1. I like Wichita State in this game tonight.
All right, liking Wichita State to get it done against North Texas at home. It is that time of year here where conference play in full effect, and it's also a good time of year to partner up with your favorite handicapper at WagerTalk.com. We got 3 best bets coming up here on today's card. Again, 55 games coming up here, and something tells me Bryan Power is going to give out Sacred Heart. I just have this feeling. But in the meantime, I can tell you right now, you can partner with Bryan Power, Adam Trigger, or Steve Merill. Right now, you get 37 days of all access. That's right, 37 days. That's a month plus a week. All yours, every sport, every play, as we ring in the new year and say thank you here at WagerTalk.com. Again, that is all plays, at across the entire website there. So visit WagerTalk.com. All sports, all plays, 37 straight days. Take advantage of it while you can here, guys. As Bryan Power was this close to giving us a Sacred Heart best bet, but it's a good thing I jumped in there, BP, and saved you since that game's been over for about an hour and a half so far. So go ahead and tell me exactly what the other best bet today. Are you going to go Bellarmine? Is that what I'm looking at here right now?
Yes, Joe, my goodness. What do you think? I'm Tony Finn? I mean, my goodness. Yes, the game's already over. Although, you should take...
you wish.
You should go with Sacred Heart. You should go with Sacred Heart today. Something tells me they're going to win. All right. Anyway, we're not going too far up the old pecking order here in the college basketball world. Joe, I told you earlier I would keep you guessing where I'm going to be recording from moving forward, but you can always count on me to break down, well, the most obscure teams on the college basketball docket. We're going to take a look at Austin P and Bellarmine here. 4-11 Bellarmine, favored over 7-8 Austin P. That caught my eye. This is the first time playing at home in 3 weeks for Bellarmine. That has to be factored into the handicap. 3 of Bellarmine's 4 wins were against non-D1 teams. That's not particularly encouraging. Their only D1 win was actually on the road at Bowling Green by double digits, as a matter of fact. But they should be happy to be home because not only has it been 3 weeks since they played here, they're coming off 3 straight road losses. Now, 2 of those were to BYU and Utah, 2 teams I talked about earlier that are very, very good, and those were obviously going to be losses. Last time out, Bellarmine covers a 10-point spread at High Point. They only lose by 5, 90-85. Ben Johnson at 32. Keep an eye out on him in this game. And then we turn to Austin P. 7 wins on the year. Okay, 3 more than Bellarmine, but also 3 non-D1 wins in there. And 5 of those 7 games that Austin P played in December were decided by 4 points or less. They were 3-2 straight up in those. Last time out, they faded down the stretch at Memphis. That's a high-profile game, certainly. They lose by 11, covered easily as 20-point underdogs. It's 6 straight ATS wins for the Governors, Joe. Quite the streak. But Steve just alluded to this. You know, when you have teams on these long ATS win streaks, long ATS losing streaks, it can start to create some value going the other way. And I wonder how Austin P is going to do here. But dropping in class as they move to conference play after playing Memphis. Austin P does not shoot well. We saw that down the stretch versus Memphis, like I mentioned. And away from home this year, Austin P, 2-7 straight up, and they're hitting just 39.8% from the field. That's not going to get it done when you're a short dog like this. Steve also talked about luck rating over at KenPom. That applies to this matchup as well. Austin P, 77th. Bellarmine, 351st. So that's bottom 13 in terms of luck rating. That tells me the ladder is due for some better results here. I like the home team, a short number. There's been line movement here, Joe. That also caught my eye. When you see a game like this where the numbers moved a couple points, you know that's sharp money. It's not the public betting this one. This is a client play for me on Bellarmine, one of 3 plays I have tonight at my page, wt.buzz/BP. We've got the college football championship game up there already. Full NFL card should be up within a couple hours, including a 5% max bet for Saturday. But for today's show, Bellarmine, it is best bet.
Outstanding stuff there, bro. I appreciate that. 2 more best bets to go. If you haven't done so already, quick suggestion, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, become part of the Wager Talk TV family, and hit that thumbs up. Those of you joining us live here today on the show on this Thursday, we certainly appreciate you guys hanging as we get ready. Now here it comes. Hampton, Delaware, the game everybody has been on the edge of their seat waiting to hear who to play. Double-digit favorites. There is no way you are playing Delaware, Trig. No way. What are we doing here?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't play Delaware here, Joe. First, I'll say that I have a play for tonight. It's a 4% best bet. It's up on my page. It'll be my only client selection for Thursday. And this is the one that came the closest. I think the only thing that sort of put me off a little bit with Hampton here is the fact that it is their 4th road game in a short period of time. So the 4th of 4 straight road games. But I'm less worried about that because they just got absolutely rolled on Monday by Drexel, to the point where the second half was basically a scrimmage. They took off a lot of their starters, played 11 different players, and got some guys bench minutes. So I don't think it's as big of a deal that this is the fourth straight road game, since Monday's game against Drexel wasn't much of a game. And I think that if anything, it's obviously losing a conference game like that to open conference play should have you a little bit more focused the following game. So I do think we'll see a better effort from Hampton here. I do like Hampton in the underdog role. They're a team that I think is going to probably finish toward the bottom of the Colonial this year, but could be good to cover numbers going forward because they are starting to get it together a little bit. Their offense is improving. Their offensive numbers are actually pretty solid. 81st nationally in scoring, 17.92 points per game, top 100 ring team, and they do most of that work at the offensive end. Much better offensive rebounding team than defensive rebounding team. From what I saw when I got to see them play a couple weeks ago. The other thing that sort of plagues them is being unorganized on defense and with the turnovers. But I have my reasons to believe that that might not come into play as much against Delaware, not like it did against a Drexel team that's just awesome defensively and very good at capitalizing on those mistakes. So I hit a 5% play on Ryder a couple weeks ago. It was just as much a fade of Delaware as it was a play on Ryder. And one of the big reasons I was willing to take the double digits with Ryder in a game Ryder actually won was because Delaware is a little bit undersized. They play they're big, if you will, or the guy that they'll sort of put guards around is Jair Davis, who's fantastic. He's one of the best players in the Colonial, and he's absolutely a forward that can play at the next level. But he's not huge. He's a little bit undersized for his position, and they it's all guards after that. So Delaware, unsurprisingly, is outside the top 250 in rebounding, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hampton, especially if they're trailing in this game at some point, which this big spread it suggests they probably will be. Wouldn't be surprised if Hampton starts to get some putbacks, some offensive boards that they end up getting a bucket on, and small margins like that are all it really takes to cover a huge number like 13.5. I think Hampton is improving. I don't expect to get this kind of production out of Jerry Dang, who's a freshman that was kind of an afterthought when you read the outlooks on Hampton coming into the season, but he's emerged as one of the better scorers. He's a guy that's a horrific defender and a huge liability on the defensive end. But they've gone to like kind of bringing him off the bench when they need a spark, and they'll live with the fact that he's not a great defender because he's hitting like 51% from the field. And so he really gives them scoring bursts in just 15.6 minutes per game. So I just like what I'm seeing from Hampton going forward. They're getting priced like this bottom option, and they're still probably one of the lesser teams in the conference. But there's some buy signs there for me to steal a term from the great Dave Koken. He always says that when you're looking at a team potentially down the pike that could be good, it's buy sign, and I see that with Hampton. So if it's not here, maybe it's one of the 3 home games they have coming up. But I do think Hampton probably hangs around in this game to cover the number, and I'll be looking at them on their 3-game homestand that starts in a few days because I do think Hampton's gonna pick up 1 or 2 against the spread in the coming weeks.
All right. Well, there you go. Close, but take the 2 touchdowns here with Hampton taking on Delaware. Almost made the card, but again, he told you there is a best bet lock loaded, ready to roll on Adam's page over at WagerTalk.com. Again, don't forget about that New Year's promo here, guys. Opportunity 37 straight days of all access. Partner up today here over at WagerTalk.com. with your favorite handicapper as we bring in Double R1L, Steve Merill. All right, I'm a little disappointed here, Merill, and I can't wait to hear your reasoning. I thought for sure you were going to have a different best bet here tonight, and I woke up today, looked at the games, and I said, you know what? Elon sucks. There's no way William and Mary, there is no way we're doing this show that Merill is not backing his alma. Look at him. He's wearing it. There is no way Merill is not on William and Mary here. And then I saw it go from 2.5 to now 4. And I'm like, Merill must have bet him. And now
That's
I
right.
come here and you're Gonzaga and Pepperdine. What the hell's going on here, Merill? What are you doing?
I mean, first of all, we can't have two CAA games on the same show. Adam took Hampton, Delaware. By the way, I will be at the William & Mary game tonight. Will not be playing it though.
Yes.
William & Mary 5-0 at home, 0-8 away this year, so that's why they are a 4-point home favorite. But struggling team. By the way, Elon and William & Mary, two of the 12 worst rated defensive teams out of 362, 351 and 356. Yet the total was 159 last night. Now it's 152. How do you like that? 7-point move to the under. So I actually think if you're going to play that game, I would lean over 152. So there, Joe gets his William & Mary fix for free here on the show. I'm going to look at the steamroller play here, a free steamroller on Gonzaga. Give you the reasoning in a moment. Let everybody know I do have an even stronger steamroller best bet on the late card tonight on Thursday, and that's available right now for my personal clients at WagerTalk.com. No NBA tonight, just 2 games. I did the NBA show with Kevin Dolan. I break down the Warriors Nuggets, so check that out in detail. I'll give you a free player prop on that game. But the NBA cashed again last night. We are, of course, 103 and 63 in 2023, and now we're 1-0 this year in 2024. So don't forget about the NBA. Huge card tomorrow and Friday. But I do have a strong college basketball best bet tonight on Thursday. And of course, the 1-year special is still available with a 41% discount. Works out to just $3 a day. Check that out on my page, SteveMerrill, WagerTalk.com. Free play tonight. Gonzaga minus 20.5 at home, 9 o'clock Eastern. Gonzagas have struggled a bit this year. They might not be the Class A team they've been in years past, but I still think they're a Class A-ish type team. And whenever I can get a really good team off a bad loss at home in a focused spot, they're worth a look. And I think that is the Zags here. In fact, they've alternated wins and losses in each of their 5 games straight up. They've gone 0-5 against the spread, though. And as I mentioned in the North Texas Wichita State game, when teams fail to cover 5 straight, we start to get deflated lines. And I think that's the case here. Gonzaga lost to a tough San Diego State team last Friday. I think they bounced back here against a much weaker Pepperdine team. And by the way, the Zags, as I've mentioned, alternated wins and losses over the past month. When they lost to Washington, they won by 38 against a weak Mississippi Valley State team. And when they lost to Connecticut, they came back and beat a weak Jackson State team by 24. So no reason why they can't win this one by 21 or more. And Pepperdine will play fast with Gonzaga, which is not going to be a good game plan. The Zags love to run, and a higher scoring game makes it easier to cover the big margin as well. Gonzaga minus the 20.5. Some sharper books are already up to minus 21, so play it sooner than later. But either way, I like the Zags, Gonzaga, as a free play tonight on Thursday. And don't forget that strong steamroller best bet for my personal clients is available to everybody on my page right now. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Don't see a whole lot of defense being played by Pepperdine ever, for that matter. Our friends over at the Gold Sheet, they got themselves a game that they are looking at too. And of course, we encourage you guys to check out goldsheet.com. Great information and great write-ups on all the games here. So if you are looking for a great destination with a lot of information that you need to know about the upcoming matchups, Gold Sheet is definitely the place you want to visit. And let down Schmetdown there saying Florida Gulf Coast laying 5.5 against Jacksonville. And what's interesting about that is, Florida Gulf Coast just beat the living snot as a 17-point dog against Florida Atlantic. Huge underdog, and they didn't even have their leading scorer available to them, Isaiah Thompson, in that game. But he will be back tonight for this one. Also, Florida Gulf Coast won both meetings last year by 7 and 11 points. So our friends at the Gold Sheet see absolutely no reason to not play Florida Gulf Coast. Lay the 5.5 against Jacksonville tonight. Make sure you visit goldsheet.com. All right, there you got it. We got a whole bunch of big game breakdowns. We even got a William and Mary update going on there included, a little extra for you. Don't forget to visit all 3 of these guys over at WagerTalk.com. Make sure you come back and visit again tomorrow as we get ready for what's going to be a huge weekend here in college hoops. But until then, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and click on the video on your screen right now. Check out all the rest of the big head-to-head matchups coming up, not just today, but all weekend across all sports. In the meantime, best of luck with all your plays tonight. We'll talk to you again soon. Good luck.